My name is Carrie Chavez, and I'm 30. If you ask my mother, I own a monument to selfishness. A 4-bedroom colonial with a clean white porch and a maple tree that drops a golden halo every October. If you ask me, I own proof that the late nights, the failed interviews, the small victories that stacked into a career in software engineering were worth it. My keys click in a lock that I paid for. The first time Mom said it out loud, it was a joke she tossed like a pebble into still water. "Such a big house for one girl," she said, running her fingers along my kitchen counter as if it betrayed her. "All those empty rooms, echoing." "I use them," I said, cheerful and brittle. "Office, gym, guest room, and I like quiet." She pursed her lips into that thin smile that means we'll circle back. "In many cultures," she said, "family resources are shared based on need." The need, of course, belonged to my younger sister Emily, 26, and her husband Ryan, 28. With their sugar-rushed children, Olivia, 4, and Henry, 2. Their 2-bedroom apartment was cramped, Mom said at every dinner, as if it were an established fact. No yard. The children share a room. Think of bedtime. I did think of bedtime, mine, though nobody asked. I thought about how my house exhales at 10 p.m., how the hallway light touches the picture frames, how hard I worked to afford those frames. That was the overture. Then came the campaign. Minimalism articles, tiny home videos, real estate listings with messages like, "Perfect for your lifestyle." When I didn't respond, Mom escalated. "You're rattling around in a family house," she declared at Sunday dinner, her voice syrupy with false concern. "Emily needs space. You're just one person." I offered a down payment, I reminded her. No strings. "Money isn't the only way to help family," she said sweetly. "Sometimes the right move is obvious." 2 days later, my doorbell rang. A Tuesday morning, coffee, half drunk. On my porch stood Emily, holding 2 tote bags stuffed with toys, with Olivia peeking out from behind her like a small explorer. Henry was on her hip, pressing the doorbell again, giggling. "Mom said you were expecting us," Emily said, eyes sliding away from mine. "I wasn't," I said, stepping aside anyway, because they're family and because decency is reflex. The kids spilled into the living room like a hurricane. Within minutes, my neatly arranged space was a land of tiny cars and dolls. "This is our pirate ship," Olivia announced, climbing onto the couch and waving a spoon like a sword. I forced a laugh. Then she bolted upstairs. "Olivia!" I called, chasing after her. I found her in my office, dolls already scattered across my keyboard. "This will be my princess room," she declared proudly. Something inside me froze. That small, warning panic that feels like glass cracking underfoot. I guided her downstairs with promises of juice boxes. Henry had discovered my home gym and was inspecting the dumbbells with toddler curiosity and zero fear. I said quietly, once both kids were distracted by cartoons, "what's going on?" She twisted her purse strap. "Mom thought the kids should explore. Imagine what rooms they'd like if—" She hesitated. "If they lived in a big house someday." "Someday," I repeated. "As in, whenever I finally stop being selfish?" Emily flinched. "That's not what I said." "Did Mom tell them they're moving here?" "Not exactly." Emily's face turned pink. "She just said they should dream. Dreams are harmless. It's the permission inside them that isn't." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Mom, hope the kids are enjoying their visit. Patricia from Book Club is a realtor, happy to evaluate both properties to make the transition smooth." Tuesday? I turned the screen toward Emily. Her lips parted in shock. "I didn't know she'd text that," she said. But the toy bag said otherwise. The room picking said otherwise. "We're not doing this," I said, steady and low. "I bought this house. I maintain it. Being single doesn't mean I'm a storage unit for everyone else's dreams." Emily's eyes glassed over with defensive tears. "Must be nice," she muttered. "Some of us have responsibilities." "I offered to help with your down payment," I reminded her. "You refused." "Because Mom said—" She stopped herself. "Mom said what?" "That taking money would just enable the unfair situation," she whispered. "That the real solution was obvious." We argued in soft, furious tones while Olivia crowned my floor lamp with a tiara and Henry fed my ficus pretzels. When they finally left, the house was quiet, except for the echo of my sister calling me selfish. That night, I changed my locks. Paranoid? Maybe. But when your mother uses words like transition and evaluation, you learn that family love sometimes sounds like a real estate pitch. I installed a video doorbell and security cameras. My phone screen glowed cold blue as I read the setup instructions. The house hummed around me. Steady, mine, but no longer peaceful. Then a voicemail from Noah, my boyfriend. Hey, Carrie. Thinking of you. Want me to bring dinner tomorrow? I know how your mom can get. His voice was warm, a hand on the shoulder after a long day. I texted back. Tomorrow's fine. I'm okay tonight. Half true. Lying in bed, I replayed Mom's words. In many cultures, need, obvious. They rearranged themselves in my head until they formed a single sentence. Your life belongs to the family. Dad, as always, stayed neutral. Work it out with your mother. Patricia, the realtor Mom mentioned, was someone I'd met twice. All smiles and lemon perfume. The type who believes every conflict can be solved with signatures and stapled forms. But the image that lingered wasn't Mom or Patricia. It was Olivia, spinning in my office saying, "This will be my princess room." Sleep didn't come. Plans did. In the morning, I texted Mom. Carrie, I am not trading houses. I'll help Emily and Ryan with a down payment for their own place. Please don't bring Patricia here. Don't send anyone to my home. This topic is closed. Her reply came fast. Mom, disappointed. Patricia can just evaluate. Don't be dramatic, Carrie. You're one woman in a big house. Be reasonable. I turned my phone face down. At lunch, Emily sent her own message. Half apology, half guilt trip. Emily, didn't mean for things to go that far, but Liv keeps asking when we're moving to Aunt Carrie's. She already picked the purple room. Guilt is clever. It doesn't knock. It lets itself in, rearranges your furniture, and whispers that boundaries make you cruel. I refused to listen. That evening, I walked through my house on purpose, touched the office chair I'd bought after my first promotion, ran my hand along the banister I'd refinish myself on stubborn weekends, stood in the guest room, and refused to feel accused by the empty bed. Outside, the motion light flickered on. The house breathed. Tomorrow, I told myself, tomorrow I'll keep saying no. Because no is not rejection, it's self-respect. Because a house is never just a house. Because once you let someone claim your rooms, they start to rewrite your story. And this story is still mine. 2 weeks passed. Just long enough for silence to start pretending it was peace. Mom hadn't called, Emily hadn't texted, and I almost believed the storm had passed. Almost. Then came the invitation. Mom, family dinner this Sunday. Just us. No drama, promise. If that phrase had a warning label, it would read, run. Still, part of me hoped. Hope is a stubborn thing. It survives every disappointment just to get hurt again. When I arrived at Mom's house, there were 4 extra cars in the driveway. My chest tightened. Inside, the table wasn't set for dinner. It was set for an ambush. Sitting there, Emily and Ryan, my aunts Barbara and Susan, and Patricia, the smiling realtor from Mom's book club, armed with a manila folder thicker than a wedding album. Patricia happened to stop by, Mom said sweetly. Thought she could help us understand the options. Options? I repeated. The family options, Aunt Barbara said, as if that clarified everything. Patricia opened her folder, spreading out documents, charts, valuations. The value differential can be managed through a structured family agreement, she explained in a crisp tone, sliding one sheet toward me. Your mother's plan allows everyone to benefit. Everyone except me. I scanned the paper. They had actually mapped out a house swap. Emily and Ryan would assume my mortgage. I'd take over their apartment lease, and the difference would be considered my investment in the family's future. They'd even itemize my benefits. Lower utilities, less maintenance, simpler living. It was so organized, it almost looked rational, until you remembered it was theft wearing a smile. This is insane, I said, my voice breaking its calm mask. I'm not discussing this. Carrie, sit down, Mom said sharply. We're having a family meeting. No, I said, you're staging a hostile takeover. Carrie, Emily whispered, eyes wet, we're just trying to make this work for everyone. I turned to her. By taking what isn't yours? Don't say it like that, she begged. I just want my kids to have a yard, their own rooms, memories like we had growing up. Then work for it, Emily, like I did. The silence that followed was heavy enough to bruise. Ryan finally spoke, voice low. We both work full-time, but daycare costs, rent. We can't save fast enough. Your mom's plan, I cut him off, isn't law. It's manipulation with stationery. Mom slammed her palm on the table. Don't you dare call me manipulative. We are your family, Carrie. Families make sacrifices. I already have, I snapped. I spent years sacrificing Time, peace, money, and apparently none of it counts because I don't have children. Mom's face hardened into something unfamiliar. You wouldn't understand. You don't know what it's like to put someone else first. My laugh was small, bitter. That's the problem, isn't it? You think motherhood is the only valid form of sacrifice. Her eyes flicked toward Emily. Look at your sister. Exhausted, overworked, doing everything for her children. And look at you. Gym, guest room, office, empty rooms while her kids share one. I looked down at the papers. A color-coded spreadsheet stared back at me, neat columns of betrayal. Patricia, awkward now, cleared her throat. Perhaps we can focus on the financial benefits. I cut her off. No offense, Patricia, but if you value your commission, you'll close that folder and leave before I burn it. Her smile faltered. Of course. I'll give you all a moment. She retreated to the living room like a polite escape artist. Mom turned to me, calm again, which was somehow worse. I didn't raise you to be so cold. No, I said softly. You raised me to be compliant. Aunt Susan sighed theatrically. You'll regret this attitude when you have kids of your own. I might regret a lot of things, I said, standing, but I won't regret keeping what's mine. Mom's next move was pure theater. She pulled out a photo album. Pictures of Emily and me as children, barefoot in our old backyard, chasing each other through the sprinklers. Remember how happy you were having space to play? She asked quietly. Don't Olivia and Henry deserve those same memories? They can make their own, I said, walking toward the door, in their own house. Aunt Barbara's voice rose behind me. Family means sacrifice. I turned back. No, family means respect, and none of you are showing me any. Then I walked out, leaving a silence that felt like glass shattering behind me. The next morning, my phone buzzed endlessly. Texts from cousins, relatives, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Heard about the house drama. Why can't you just compromise? Your mom just wants what's best for Emily's kids. It's not like you even use all that space. I muted the entire family group chat. That night, Mom posted on Facebook. Family is about sharing blessings, not hoarding them. Some people forget that children come first. The comments came fast. You're so right, Patricia. Some people don't appreciate their blessings. Karma has a way of teaching selfish hearts. They didn't tag me. They didn't need to. Even Emily posted a photo. Olivia and Henry sitting on their shared bed, smiling under the caption, making the best of what we have. Every comment was a knife wrapped in sympathy. I tried to focus on work. I failed. Emails blurred. My chest felt tight. That's when I booked my first appointment with Dr. Martinez, a therapist a friend recommended. She listened quietly as I unraveled the story. When I finished, she said, Carrie, your house isn't just real estate. It's a boundary you built after years of proving yourself. They're not trying to take your property. They're trying to take your autonomy. Her words landed like a truth I already knew but couldn't say. That night, I wrote one final email to my family. I will not be trading houses. I will not discuss this topic further. I have offered to help Emily and Ryan with a down payment. That offer stands. Any future attempts to pressure me will result in limited contact. I love this family, but I will not sacrifice my peace for it. Carrie. Mom's reply came within the hour. I'm disappointed in the woman you've become. Emily didn't respond at all. Ryan texted privately. I understand, Carrie. I never wanted it to go this far. Mom's persuasive and Em's desperate. I'm sorry. For a moment, I almost cried, not from sadness, but from relief that someone saw the insanity for what it was. Then I walked to the window. My porch light flickered on as the motion sensor picked up the night breeze. The same calm house I once found comforting now felt guarded. I wasn't sure whether I was protecting it or it was protecting me. 4 weeks of uneasy quiet. No calls, no visits, no Facebook guilt traps. I started to believe they'd finally accepted my decision. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, an email arrived with the subject line, Mitchell Chavez Family Property Agreement, for review. The sender, Kendall and Price Law Offices. My pulse spiked. I opened it. Inside was a legal document, 12 pages long, outlining what they called a family property optimization plan. In plain English, it was a contract for me to transfer the deed to my house to Emily and Ryan, while I'd take over their apartment lease. Signed at the bottom were 4 names, Mom, Emily, Ryan, and, my breath caught, Dad. I stared at the screen until the text blurred. Then I called him. Dad, tell me you didn't sign this. He sighed, that long, weary sigh of someone already bracing for shame. Your mother's been relentless, Carrie. Everyone's losing sleep. Emily's crying every night about the kids. I thought if we made it official, maybe it would stop the fighting. You thought if you brought lawyers into it, I'd cave? It's not about caving, it's about compromise. Compromise? I said, voice breaking. Dad, compromise means both sides give something. This is me giving up everything. He murmured something about fairness and family unity, but I'd stopped listening. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. I forwarded the email to Jessica and Wen, my lawyer and college friend. She called me back in less than 10 minutes. This is coercive nonsense, she said. They can't force you to sign it, not without consent. They said they'd pursue other options if I didn't. Empty threat, Jessica replied. The only thing they can pursue is embarrassment. I wanted to believe her, but I knew my mother, and embarrassment was her weapon of choice. The next day proved it. At 9 a.m., my HR manager, A.A., asked me to step into her office. She looked uncomfortable. Your mother called, she said. She claimed you were under family stress and might need a leave of absence. She even sent us your therapist's name. I sat frozen. She what? She framed it as concern, but Carrie, this isn't appropriate. We're flagging the call as harassment. I left the office shaking. At lunch, my homeowners association emailed me. Someone had reported concerns that my property was being neglected. By evening, 3 relatives had texted to check in and remind me to think of the children. It was spreading. Mom's social campaign was live again, subtler this time. Inspirational posts about family unity, sacrifice, and the loneliness of selfish success. She tagged no one, but everyone knew. Even Sabrina, my boyfriend Noah's ex, somehow got involved. She texted Noah out of nowhere. Hey, just saw the drama. Can't believe Carrie's making you live in that big house alone while her family struggles. She always did seem territorial. Noah showed me the message that night. I didn't reply, he said quietly. But she didn't come up with that on her own. Mom, always finding new messengers. That weekend, I met Jessica at her office. She scanned the documents again and frowned. They included a deadline. 2 weeks. It's meaningless unless you sign. What happens if I ignore it? They'll try to scare you, she said. Or worse, ruin your name. Brace yourself. I nodded. I'd already seen the edges of that plan. 2 days later, the next phase began. Mom started calling Dad's church friends, claiming I'd promised the house for family use. She told neighbors I was breaking my word. She even called Patricia, yes, that Patricia, to evaluate the situation from a community ethics standpoint. The gossip storm spread faster than any truth could follow. At the grocery store, Mrs. Fallon from church gave me a cold nod. A former coworker texted, "Everything okay with your family? I heard something weird." And when I parked outside my house one night, there was a note tucked under my wiper. "Children deserve space. You don't deserve that house alone." I sat in my car for a long time, headlights off, breathing through the disbelief. Noah came over with takeout. He found me sitting on the floor with the unopened legal folder beside me. "Don't let them make you small," he said softly, but his jaw was tight. He'd met my mother twice, once at Christmas, once during her downsizing lecture. She'd smiled at him like a chess player studying the next move. "She called me," he admitted finally. I looked up. "What?" "She said you were under a lot of stress. Asked if I thought you'd be happier in a smaller place. Maybe a clean start." Then she mentioned Sabrina. Of course she did. Mom never fought fair. She fought surgical. "What did you say?" "I told her the only one who needs to downsize is her ego." I laughed, watery but real. "You might be my first line of defense." He smiled faintly. "Then I'll hold the line." By week's end, Jessica had sent a formal legal response rejecting the contract and warning against further harassment. That's when Mom went nuclear. She called my HOA again. She left voicemails for my manager, pretending to be my concerned emergency contact. And then she launched what she called her public appeal, a mass email to extended family and church members with the subject, "A Daughter's Betrayal." Inside, she wrote that I'd turned my back on family values, broken promises, and chose property over love. Attached were photos of Olivia and Henry sleeping on the same bed, captioned, "The little one's paying for her greed." I read it at midnight. My stomach turned. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I drafted my own public statement. Brief, factual, measured. Jessica approved every word. Family matters should remain private. I love my sister and her children and have offered financial help for their housing needs. I will not be discussing this matter further. No hashtags, no explanations, just a line in the sand. Mom's response came 36 hours later, in person. She showed up on my porch with Patricia and a locksmith, claiming she had the right to inspect family property. I called the police. When the officers arrived, she was mid-argument about joint moral ownership. They explained gently that the house was mine. Watching them escort my mother off my property, her face pale with rage and disbelief, was the worst and strangest moment of my life. After they left, I sat on the stairs for a long time, numb. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the house. It hit me then. The war wasn't about bricks and walls. It was about control, and she would never stop until someone drew blood. The next morning, Jessica filed for a temporary restraining order. The restraining order went through faster than I expected, faster than I wanted, even. Maybe because I still hoped she'd back down before it came to that. But the judge didn't need much convincing. The police report, the photos of Patricia and the locksmith on my porch, the security footage showing Mom pounding on the door, it was all there. When the judge signed the papers, the gavel's soft tap sounded like the final nail in something I hadn't realized was dying. The illusion that my mother still respected me. The order was temporary, but symbolic. She was legally barred from coming near my house, my job, or contacting me outside of legal channels. It should have felt like victory. It felt like grief. Dad called that night. "She's furious," he said quietly. "But maybe this will calm things down." "She tried to break into my house, Dad." "I know. I'm sorry." "She brought a locksmith. That's not furious. That's delusional." He sighed. "You know your mother. Once she gets an idea in her head, she can't let it go." "Then maybe it's time she learns what consequences look like." He didn't reply, just breathed on the line, small and tired. 3 days later, a package arrived. No return address, just a single manila envelope taped shut. Inside, a dozen photos, printed screenshots from my own security cameras. Each image captured Mom standing in front of my porch light, expression unreadable. She'd been back, trying the door, before the police arrived that night. Beneath the last photo was a handwritten note. "You'll regret this coldness someday. You'll see what family really means when you have nothing left." Jessica told me to keep it for the case file. I tucked it in a drawer I never opened again. Mom's retaliation found new shapes. If she couldn't reach me, she'd reach everyone around me. Aunts started calling Dad daily, guilting him for enabling my cruelty. Emily stopped answering texts altogether. Then came a letter from Emily and Ryan's lawyer, their own response to the restraining order. It accused me of isolating a grandmother from her grandchildren and preventing normal family visitation. I stared at it, incredulous. They were actually trying to weaponize Olivia and Henry against me. The very kids I used to babysit, the ones I'd bought birthday gifts for every year. Jessica filed a counter-response. It was dismissed in minutes, but the sting lasted for days. Holidays came. For the first time in my life, Christmas dinner wasn't at my parents' house because I wasn't invited. Dad said they'd keep it small this year. Translation, without you. Instead, Noah and I cooked at my place. He brought a small pine tree, crooked and imperfect. We decorated it with leftover ribbons and paper stars. It looked nothing like the glossy perfection of Mom's holiday photos, but when Noah switched on the lights, the soft glow filled the room like forgiveness. "You okay?" he asked. "Not really," I admitted. "But I think I'm finally done." "Done fighting?" "Done bleeding for people who call it family love." He nodded, pulled me close. For the first time in months, I let someone hold me without bracing for impact. January blurred into February. The silence from Emily became louder than the arguments ever were. Dad tried to keep both sides, but Mom wore him down. He sounded brittle every time we talked, like he was living in her storm. Then, one night, my phone buzzed at 11:23 p.m. "Ryan." I hesitated before answering. His voice was shaky. "I can't do this anymore." "Ryan?" "This house thing. Emily, your mom, it's killing everyone." He was crying. Not loud, but the kind of quiet cry that comes from exhaustion, not sadness. "She talks about your house every single day," he said. "Your mom calls her every morning, filling her head with how you stole it. She's obsessed. She started telling the kids that one day they'll live there again." "Again?" I whispered. "She says Mom promised them, that you're keeping them from their home." My throat went dry. "Ryan, that's not okay." "I know," he said. "That's why I'm calling. I'm moving out, just for a while. If Emily won't get help, I'm done." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of his words. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," he said. "You didn't start this. You just stopped enabling it." We stayed silent for a while. two people in the wreckage of the same storm, both trying to find the exit. After that night, things got worse before they got better. Mom started showing up at Ryan's workplace, accusing him of abandoning the family. Emily posted cryptic quotes online about betrayal and toxic relatives. Cousins took sides like it was a war. Even distant family friends joined the chorus, whispering about how success had changed Carrie. Through it all, Noah stayed. He never tried to fix it. He just kept showing up. With dinner, with quiet, with the kind of steadiness that felt like healing. Once, he found me sitting on the floor, surrounded by unopened mail. "Hey," he said gently, "you're allowed to grieve them." "I'm not grieving them," I said, staring at a Christmas card from Aunt Susan that read "Family Forgives." "Then what are you grieving?" I thought about it. The version of them I thought existed. He didn't say anything, just pulled me into his arms. And I cried for the first time in months. Spring came. The restraining order was extended. Quietly, clinically, as if even the court understood that some battles never truly end. Emily and Ryan filed for separation. Dad moved in with his brother for a while, saying Mom needed space, though everyone knew what that really meant. And me? I went back to therapy twice a week. Dr. Martinez said something that stuck. "You didn't lose a family, Carrie. You lost your place in their delusion." That line replayed in my head every night, steady and cruel and true. I still had my house, but now every creak of the floorboard sounded like the cost of keeping it. Still, I'd pay it again, because some things are worth protecting, even when it costs you everything else. By summer, the silence had settled into something like permanent weather, heavy, humid, and familiar. Every week, I expected a new twist, another letter, another guilt-laden message. But nothing came. Mom's war had gone quiet. Quiet doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes it means she's planning her next strike. Still, for the first time in months, I slept through the night. The house finally felt like a home again, not a fortress. I planted hydrangeas in the front yard. The soil gave easily, as if it wanted to forgive me for the months of neglect. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. Emily. I froze before answering. Her voice was cold but controlled. "Carrie, I just want you to know I saw what you did." "What I did?" "I know you've been talking to Ryan. You're trying to turn him against me." "No," I said softly. "He called me. He's hurting. You both are." "Don't pretend you care," she snapped. "You just want to play the victim. Mom was right about you." There it was again, that line like an echo carved into her. "Emily," I said carefully, "I'm not your enemy. I never was. I just want all of us to heal. I even told Ryan I'd pay for counseling." "Counseling?" She laughed, sharp and bitter. "So now you're buying forgiveness?" "No," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm offering peace." "Well, keep your money," she spat. "You can't buy family. You already sold yours." Then she hung up. I stared at the phone, heart hammering. For a moment, I wanted to call back, to scream, to argue, to prove I wasn't the villain they'd built. But I didn't. Because I'd finally learned. Some arguments only exist to drag you back into the cage you escaped. 2 weeks later, Ryan filed for separation. Dad told me over the phone, his voice thick, "She's refusing therapy. Says you poisoned everyone against her." I swallowed. "What about the kids?" "They're confused," he said. "They ask about you sometimes." That night, I dreamed of Olivia running through my hallway again, calling the office her princess room. When I woke, the house was still. And it hurt, but it also felt clean. Mom, of course, couldn't leave it at that. She started attending church every Sunday with Emily, holding hands like martyrs. Her new campaign wasn't online this time. It was in whispers, pitying glances, and carefully curated stories about the daughter who lost her way. But something had changed. People had started to notice the pattern. A few mutual friends reached out quietly. "We're sorry. We didn't know what she'd put you through." For the first time, I didn't have to defend myself. Truth had done it for me. Therapy helped too. Dr. Martinez said healing isn't about forgiving people who never apologized. It's about freeing yourself from the need for their understanding. One day she asked me, "Do you ever regret standing your ground?" I thought about it. The sleepless nights, the humiliation, the lost family dinners, the moments when guilt nearly swallowed me whole. Then I shook my head. No, I said, because if I hadn't, they would have taught me that love only exists when I'm useful. She smiled gently. "Then you've already healed more than you think." By August, I had a rhythm again. Work, therapy, cooking with Noah, Small, quiet mornings that felt almost sacred. We started planning a trip. Chicago, maybe Seattle. Somewhere new. Somewhere I could breathe without expecting a knock on the door. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Noah found me standing on the porch, looking at the house. "You still thinking about leaving?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "Not because I'm running away, just because I want to start fresh. Somewhere the walls don't remember the shouting." He nodded. "Wherever you go, I'm with you." I smiled. I'm starting to believe that. A week later, Dad dropped by unannounced. No warning, just the sound of his old sedan in the driveway. When I opened the door, he looked smaller somehow, like a man shrinking beneath too many apologies. "I won't stay long," he said. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here." I didn't ask how bad things were. His eyes said enough. He handed me a small box. Inside was a photo. Me and Emily as kids, covered in dirt, holding a garden hose, laughing like the world was brand new. "I found it when I moved out," he said quietly. "I thought you should have it." Moved out. The words hit slow, like rain after thunder. "You left her?" "For now. She refuses to see a counselor. Keeps saying you brainwashed me." He sighed. "But I realized something, Carrie. You were right. Love isn't measured by how much you give away. It's how much you protect what matters." I blinked fast, but tears still fell. "Dad?" He reached out, squeezed my hand. "You protected yourself. I'm proud of you." When he left, the house felt lighter, like it had been waiting years to hear those words. I never heard from Mom again directly. Every few months, a cousin would mention she still told people I'd chosen money over blood. I used to flinch. Now I just shrug. Let her narrative rot where it belongs. As for Emily, I keep the door cracked for her, just a little. Maybe one day, when the noise in her head quiets, she'll remember who we used to be. Until then, I pray for her kids, that they grow up knowing love isn't ownership, and kindness doesn't mean surrender. Now, a year later, I sit on my porch with a cup of coffee, the hydrangeas blooming again. The house is mine, scarred but still standing, and so am I. I think about everything I've lost. Then I think about everything I've gained: peace, clarity, and the unshakable knowledge that boundaries aren't walls. They're instructions for how others may love you. I still love my family, but I love myself more. To anyone facing what I faced, the guilt, the manipulation, the endless demands disguised as duty, hear me. You are not cruel for saying no. You are not selfish for keeping what you earned. And you are not heartless for protecting your peace. Family is supposed to be where love feels safe, not where it's weaponized. I used to think I lost everything when I stood my ground. But now I see it clearly. I didn't lose them. I found myself.